morning, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done a video. It's now time to give this car an oil change because despite Landrover saying it'll do 22,000 miles between a service, we've managed 7,500. And there's a number of technical issues surrounding that which Landrover are dealing with at the moment, but I won't dwell on that on this video. So right, under the bonnet here, what have we got? So two of the places you need to be aware of, you've got the oil filter housing down here, fuel filler cap, dipstick. Okay, so what we need to do first off is to unscrew the filler top, remove this panel, which is a simple yank, pull and tug affair. Remove this, and I'll explain why I'm doing this in a minute, and pop this fuel filler cap back on. Okay, so the engine at the moment is stone cold, and the reason for that is I need to get access down to here, okay, without burning my hand on this whole turbo EGR device and all that sort of stuff. Now, what I've already looked this morning, and actually, quite rightly, this is hand tight. So what I've actually done is I have loosened it, and I can't quite get the right grip and show you at the moment whilst filming. But essentially, it is hand tight, and my intention was that if it was any tighter, I'd have loosened it off, put it back hand tight, and then drive the car to warm it up, so that when I come to do this properly and the engine's really hot, and this is really hot, I can just put my hand down here and twizzle this off. And then moving down under the car, what I've done is I've removed this engine tray here, okay, which as you can see is held in by 7 bolts around various holes, and that screws in underneath down here, exposes the sump, and just on the other side of the sump where my finger is here, okay, is the oil drain plug. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the car out, I'm going to warm it up, and then when we come back we'll drain the oil and we'll put the fresh stuff in. Now, as I'll just show you which oil I'm putting in. Now, I've bought this Petronas Syntum 7000E oil. It's one of the few oils that meets the correct technical spec, which I've written on the top there just to remind myself whilst I'm talking, which is STJLR.03.5007. And it's designed particularly, you have to put this oil specifically in this engine because of the AdBlue and the particle filter and the tolerances and so forth. Now, the original brand is Castrol. This meets the spec. I've bought this online in Germany, and it's cost me €54 for 10 litres delivered. The cheapest I could find, the original Castrol product to the same spec, is €13.50 for 1 litre, so quite a good saving there. And then I've got this Plurflux filter, L994, okay, which I suspect is the original filter anyway, just in a Landrover box. And again, this has cost me €12.50 delivered online. I'm not quite sure whether the camera's picking it up there on the focus, but as you can see, it tells us specifically it's for this engine. And I've already checked with the cold filter, having unscrewed it this morning to remove the housing and so forth, as we showed in the earlier video. That fits, so that's obviously the original filter, and that's the original oil to the correct technical spec. So what we're going to do now is we undo this filler cap. As you can see, it's smoking because the engine's really quite warm at that, and I've just been out for the run. We lift this cover off, and then we'll take this cover off as well. Now, I filmed this a bit earlier, but I'm going to re-show you what I'm going to do because my cameraman is now awake, which is good, so you can see what I'm doing and it makes it clearer for you guys at home. So the oil filler housing here, what I did is when the car was cold, was I made sure it was just hand tight, because of course this at the moment is red as hot, the turbo EGR setup. Okay, so what I've done is I've made sure this is hand tight, so that now, he says, hopefully getting a grip in there, I can just turn that open, which is what I'm doing now. I just haven't got the range of movement I had earlier because this, I'm trying not to burn myself. I'm just unscrewing this filter housing very gently. In fact, actually, if you come around to this side here, you can see it's quite tight because of the AdBlue filler, but I'm just slowly turning this round to get it open. I know this doesn't make for interesting viewing, and I'll speed it up anyway once I've got it off, but it's just so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. And I've done this without any special tools. Obviously, if you've got a 3-prong oil filler housing tool, then it makes life a bit easier. But that is just genuinely hand tight, but obviously it's tight because the engine's hot and I haven't got the grip because I don't want to touch this. So all we do now, just twizzle that round. You'll feel when it stops turning anymore, and you just very slightly pull it out of its housing, just like that, and that'll just let the air drain down when we release the filler cap, and also remove the dipstick. And that's what Jaguar tell you to do. So what we'll do now is we'll disappear under the car and we'll take off the sump plug and we'll drain the oil out. You couldn't be bothered with a jack. I've just put it up on a block of wood, and that gives you plenty of ground clearance to go underneath. And if you put it under the left hand side, then it naturally helps all the oil drain down as well, because the filler cap is located, or the filler sump plug is on the right hand side here. So that is a 13mm. Okay, it's just under here. Usual setup. We'll get that undo it instead of draining up. Okay, obviously you just need to be careful. Two things: you position your thing in the right place, and also the oil itself is quite hot. So we just unspin that. Okay, I can feel it's coming out now. Okay, so it's quite warm because I've just spun the car up the road. And there you go. There's the old black stuff coming out. We'll leave the drain plug on there. I'll go and wash my hands, and we'll come back in about 20 minutes time once it's all drained out, have another cup of tea and crack on. And be careful, this is hot. The only way this can really, there's no access to drop it from the top. You have to drop it from the side, let gravity do the work into its slot, and then just screw it down. Now on the top of the thing here, the housing, it says 25 Newton meters tight, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it hand tight for the moment, which is really all it should be. And then when the car's cold, much colder much later on, I'll give it another, just a twist, just to make sure it's fully in. But I'm not going to do any more than hand tight, because you could see how it's warmed up. The engine's warmed up, it seals itself in. So that's fine. That's the filter changed. Off camera, two things have happened. One, we've had a cup of tea, which was very nice. The second one we've done is we've replaced the oil filler back in the hole, as you saw, and we've put in 5 litres of engine oil, having done up the plug at the bottom. Tip: if you haven't got a funnel or anything, take this insert out that normally sits in here, put that over the top, and then when you're pouring in your oil, any spills get caught in there and you can just mop them up, and it saves them going over the engine. So what I've done now is I've put 5 litres in, which is one whole carton, and the dipstick at the moment is just showing just over the minimum mark. And I've started the engine for about 20 seconds just to mix through any of the old oil that you could see in there, because there was a tiny bit of black at the bottom of it. And I'll leave this now for half an hour or so and check the levels. But I'll just rebuild all this back in, because we don't really need all this exposed now. So we take this sort of heat shielding thing, fits over the filler neck, and then this just slots loosely over the pipes that are there. Nothing too technical there. And then we take this cover, relocate it on the 2 lugs at the front, and there's a hidden one underneath here. Just clonk it down. I'll put the fill filler cap back on just to make sure nothing goes in there. And that's it, really. I'll leave the under tray off for the moment, because I want to check for leaks and so on, and I've got a couple of other things I want to look at under the car. So I'll put that back on probably the next couple of days, and that's you really. And then, yeah, that's how you do your oil change. And then if you fancy doing the full service, just so you could be charged about £400 by Landrover, then just check the depth of your brake pads, fill up the washer fluid and put a stamp in the book. Other than that, if you need to do a service in between, here's how you do it. Thanks for watching. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and we'll come back to you next time with another video.